Hi friends, welcome to another episode of the Rifle Church channel. This video is going to be about hand loading. Now this is not an instructional video, just talking about the subject. I'm not going to be showing you how to do anything. But it's going to kind of talk about maybe a little bit about hand loading, maybe the difference between hand loading and reloading. The difference between hand loading and reloading. And I'll talk a little bit about that. So anyway, this is not an instructional video. This is just simply a conversation about hand loading. So what's the definitions are important. So do you know what I mean by the difference between a hand loader and a reloader? Reloaders are generally they have a tendency to be production type shooters. They want to be able to reload as much ammunition within a short period of time as possible, possibly because they're in the shooting competition sports, and really they're not really focused on precision work. They're focused on volume. So they just want their ammunition to be reliable. And you can, reloaders, don't get me wrong, reloaders can actually be really good reloaders. I mean, they know exactly what that rifle wants, so they just keep making that. And it's possible that they research that load, but more often than not, from what I've been able to tell, is a lot of just reloaders are told by somebody that they know that are within a certain cadre of, or a circle of reloading people that just have certain loads that they know work. It doesn't matter what kind of pistol you run it in. It doesn't matter what kind of rifle you run it in or whatever the caliber is that it's always going to work, and it's always a spec kind of case to it at a certain length, overall length. So, now there's nothing wrong with being a reloader, but it's not exactly the same thing as a hand loader. And when I'm referring to somebody who is a hand loader, I am referring to somebody who is exploring exactly what bullet, case, primer, powder combination is going to work best in their specific rifle, and it's going to be the ammunition is going to be seated or to a total overall length for that bullet combination that could be spec gauged to the chamber dimensions of that specific rifle, so that the ammunition is 1 or 2 thou off the lance, so it's the perfect length for that rifle, for that chamber. So there's ways of measuring that. I'm not going to tell you how to do it. However, I will say that I just did it for this Swedish 6.5 by 55 round here, and that is basically been seated out to the specifications of the chamber of that specific rifle. So that's what I'm talking about. And there's no primer in this. It's just a dummy. I just built this to measure the chamber specifications of that rifle. I'm not going to tell you how to do that. You know, you can research how to do that, but that's not what this video is about. So that's kind of where I'm going. So kind of the difference between a hand loader and a reloader is that, and I want to talk about hand loading just a little bit. Now, one of the things that consistently hand loaders seem to have is a library. They have a library of data. You know, guides, manuals with bullet selections, powder formulations, and they basically, or these are tables that are basically a combination of powder charge and velocity and pressure. Okay, what are kind of max, minimum, and max thresholds depending on the kind of powder that you're using? Is you're going to explore those different kinds of things. And for example, let's move this out of the way here. So you may be looking at the 8x57 Mauser in this 48th edition of the Reloading Handbook by Lyman, or maybe you're going to check a similar loadout that Sierra may have put together, different kind of formulations, different bullet weights, different bullet types. This one's by Barnes. So I wanted this one because I was starting to get into the monolithic solids of the triple shock and so on. I want to know more about because they're longer bullets, so they're different. Okay, because they have a different, lead has got more mass to it. So because these are monolithic copper projectiles, they have a tendency to be longer in order to actually meet the same kind of weight thresholds, and they shoot differently. So Barnes is a very good one to have in your collection. Nosler, you know, another beautiful book. Hornady, of course, and this one here is beautiful. I got this from my father many years ago, and it is one of the mostly frequented books that I have in my library. And then it's Ken Waters' Pet Loads, the complete volume from Handloader magazine. I believe he was a writer for Handloader magazine. And Ken Waters he shot everything. He has shot everything. Now here's the thing, is that when it comes to these manuals, is that for every load that you come across, you've probably tried 10 different formulations that didn't work. But this one really works. This one really sings. I mean, it really works well in whatever rifle you've got it made for. And so it's not just having a library that is important, but is also important is keeping good data. So you don't just kind of lose that load, if you know what I mean. I mean, so I've got this Lyman data log. You know, it came with a few pieces of paper. You know, I photocopied them a long time ago. But this is essentially a data file of all of the rifles that I've shot. Most of them I don't even own anymore, but I've kept those loads. Whoops, making a mess. There's 10 rounds inside of 2.5 inches. That's from a 1944 number 4 Mark 1T. That was April 2010. Range 100 meters. It was dark. It was evening, 7:00 p.m. No wind, no precipitation. Sorry, there's 15 rounds inside that patch. Kind of give you a bit of an idea as to what it is that the number 4 Mark 1T sniper can do. And the ammunition was nothing specific. I do have notes on the type of ammunition. And here's this is kind of a reload. This is a target from the Enfield Enforcer. This is at 28 December 2015, and these are just different loads that I was getting out of the Enfield Enforcer. This one was 150 grain Hornady Spitzer point bolt tail with 4064, IMR 4064, 100 meters. These are all crimp loads. Yeah, I'll try some factory ammunition every once in a while, and just to anchor yourself as to whether or not you think that the load that you've developed is anything special. But being able to, not just to keep targets, but to keep the data. For example, let's look at this rifle right here. So this is these are loads that you got a little chart here. You got to keep track. I made 4 of these, 4 of these, 4 of these, 4 of these. These are the different loads. This is the overall length. This is the type of powder you're using. Just whatever the combination is that you put together, and then you're going to go out to the range and you're going to shoot it, and you're going to find out exactly which one of those groups worked out the best. You're going to write down the data, which was the load and which rifle you shot it out of. This one was, yep. I got all the information on there. Here's another one. This was the same load, but no, a different load out of a different rifle. But it's still 8x57 Mauser. Just keeping good data, keeping good records. What worked and what didn't work. And essentially what I'm kind of doing is writing my own book of pet loads that have worked for me, and all the data that comes along with it, kind of like what Ken Waters did here. Maybe not quite as sophisticated as him, but general idea, I think you get it. It's been years and years and years of keeping records. The quality of your components. Don't go cheap. I've discovered that going cheap on the quality of your components is a waste of time and a waste of money for a hand loader. Now, you never really know what you're going to get. I mean, I have a tendency to buying volume when I need to do bullets, because I'll hand load. I'll measure, fit, test, configure, analyze different loads for different rifles, and then but when I find one that works, I make a lot of it because it works, and I want to shoot that rifle. So if I'm going to go do a review, if this is the kind of accuracy I'm getting out of this rifle or anything like that, I want to make a lot of it so I can do the testing and show you the data. And it's very time consuming. It's very time consuming, but it's totally worth it. If you're a hand loader, if that's what you're into, you want to see what the potential is for a specific rifle, then you do this. So, but at the same time, your time is valuable. Don't waste your time on cheap components, cheap primers, cheap bullets. If you're a hand loader, if you just want those cheap components for volume shooting, then that's fine. Then you don't really need to hand load specifically for that rifle. You're just gonna volume shoot it like a reloader. But some of us have some pulled bullets from old military surplus firearms have shot exceptionally well. So far as the quality of the product, I mean, I've had 285 grain 9.3 millimeter bullets that I shot out of the CZ550, 9.3 by 62, and they shot phenomenally well. A 285 grain bullet, and they shot substantially well. While at the same time, 165 grain semi Spitzer bow tail, I haven't been able to get that 30 caliber bullet to shoot well in any rifle, no matter how good. Okay, so while they're both PPU or Purvey bullets, one shot well and the other didn't. You never really know, is it a subcontractor involved? Did they just not meet quality standards or whatever? So I know that Hornady's work good. I know that Sierra is good. I know that all those other manufacturers are good. So just stick with what you know works, and just what you're trying to do is it's a process of elimination, right? You're trying to eliminate variables that are gonna impact your success level, and just waste your time. So those bullets were a waste of my time. So use good quality components. Setting time aside. Okay, so I mean, for example, you may need to schedule time for yourself. Maybe you're a super busy person, okay, and maybe you're a super busy person, and you don't have a lot of time to invest in this kind of stuff. If it's important enough to you, you have to make the time. I know it's a pain in the ass. You know what? Here's the thing: is that make a schedule for yourself. If you have a match coming up and you need to get ready for it, it means you need to dedicate time, months and months and months in advance, to get your loads right, to configure your rifle the way you want it, to work out the ergonomics of doing your mag changes or your reloads. It all takes time. And here's the deal, guys, is that most of the hand loaders that I have known were, or at least were, or are, exceedingly good marksmen. They've dedicated a tremendous amount of time to their craft. And hand loading is just one kind of spectrum of that I guess what would you call it? Scope of practice. You know, as a hand loader, it's only a part of your marksmanship considerations. So, but setting time aside and scheduling the time is absolutely critical to being able to get anywhere and do anything. And I need to do more of it because I haven't done any reloading for a long, long time. The only reason why I'm doing it now is because I've got certain deadlines coming, and I need to have certain rifles ready by a certain time in order to do that purpose. In this situation, it's hunting. And so this 8x57 load that I've got worked up here is 195 grain Hornady. .323 inch. This one is 195 grains. That's bullet number 3236. And got a good load of RMR 4064 behind it. This is PPU brass and it shoots great. It shoots great in all of the 8x57 Mausers. Now, this one here, because I only have 2 military Mausers and I love them both, so I like to shoot them both. And so this particular ammunition is tailor-made to shoot in any military Mauser. It'll be just fine. Or a hunting rifle, because it's hunting ammunition. This is not match-grade ammunition that's tailored to one specific rifle. That load works well in almost all of the rifles that I've made it for and shot it out of, and they all shoot really great. So this is kind of where you walk the line between being, well, it was a process of discovery to come across that load. It took me a long time of effort and research and development and shooting. And so it was, again, a process of elimination. I found the load that is just this kind of the sweet spot for my 8x57 Mausers. It shoots well on all of them, so if it ain't broken, don't fix it. Anyhow, so I mean, yeah, and that load also works exceedingly well in this Model 98 Mauser, which is a hunting rifle. It's a Zastava M70 with a Zrak M76 Bravo optical sight on it, and it's got double set triggers. Beautiful. And I've even lapped the bolt in this thing because, again, the pursuit is precision. Every little thing you can do to make the rifle shoot better is just all part of the puzzle. So setting time aside is big. Now, it may be a distraction to whatever it is that you're doing. But here's the deal, is that the distraction of hand loading your own ammunition, whatever your worries are, whatever the situation is, whatever the source of anxiety is that's coming into your life, has a tendency to stop within about 15 minutes or to 20 minutes into this process, because you're forcing yourself to concentrate on something else in detail. So I mean, it's concentration, it's total focus. It's not something you should be doing if you've just had a 6-pack of beer. You need to be present, right? Because your measurements need to be right, everything needs to be right, there's no room for mistakes. When you get people that are doing stupid things like getting double charges, I mean, mistakes happen, but if you're a hand loader, you gotta be in the moment, you gotta be present, and you gotta be safe. But getting that distraction from your normal day-to-day problems, well, it doesn't really matter what it is. Some people call it meditation. Well, I like to meditate and make ammunition at the same time. Call me a weirdo. Also at the same time, it's quite frequently at the end of it, at the end of the reloading session, I've solved a whole bunch of problems, kind of subconsciously in my mind. You know, I don't even know I'm doing it. While the computer is whirring and concentrating all this different stuff and the measurements, subconscious mind is incredible. So, marksmen, marks persons, marks woman. They have a tendency to be handlers, where the type of marksman does not want to limit their own shooting prowess or ability because of inferior ammunition, components, quality, formulation. They want the best that is going to work for them, and that's what a hand loader is. That's what a hand loader does, and frequently you'll find that they're marksmen too. So Rifle Church signing out. Hope you're all doing well. Pretty sure I forgot a few things. I'm not saying I'm the pro, right? But remaining consistent, making your measurements the same every time, whatever your overall length is, and miking your brass, checking to make sure your brass is safe. You're not going to have a head case separation because you check for that stuff. You measure, you got micrometers and so on, you got all the stuff. You've probably got a chronograph too. right? Because you want to, you're specific. There's a specific velocity range that I want for this particular rifle. I want it to be within this velocity range. I know I got a 1-in-7 twist barrel. I want to be in this velocity range with that bullet weight, so I can actually print accurately at 500 meters. So that's the way I approach hand loading. Anyway, Maple Leaf up, folks.